Hi, everyone. I am so excited about the chat that we have today. We're talking to Philip Rosedale, one of my heroes, and the CEO of High Fidelity, also the inventor and founder of Second Life, is where you might have known him about before. And so we are going to talk about social VR and the potential of social VR to really directly affect human possibility and to help restitch the social fabric. And the one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this possibility is having actually spent time in High Fidelity with Philip. I walked out of that experience saying, like, this is the future, and there's so much potential in this. So with that, we're going to get started. So, hi, Philip.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
I would love for you to tell the community a little bit about your background and the transition from Second Life to High Fidelity.
Sure. Well, I'm originally a programmer since I was a kid, and I got really inspired from then on, really in high school, college, about the idea of hooking computers together to make a really big shared space, and that space would be like another world, and that we could all go into that world and make stuff, and maybe make money if we cared to, and make new friends and travel and all these things. And so I've pretty much been working my whole career on trying to do that, starting from even before, right at about the time that the internet got started, and, waiting for graphics chips to get better. And now we've got this revolution happening with VR hardware, but I've just been kind of working steadily on this whole idea. And like you said, I built Second Life first, and Second Life is a 2D version of that, where you're looking through your screen, your laptop screen or whatever, into a three-dimensional world where you can see yourself kind of like a video game as an avatar, as we say, great word, and wander around in the world and interact with people and run into people. In Second Life, I started it in '99, which is about when graphics chips got fast enough to do this kind of thing, and it got quite famous in about 2006. And even today, it is still about 1 million people from all over the world and all kinds of backgrounds, and just incredibly diverse group of people hanging out together, and some of them making money, some thousands of them making money, living in this virtual world. And in about 2013, what changed in technology was the initial hardware that would enable these crazy, head-mounted displays came out, and I got a hold of some of it, and I decided to start a new company, High Fidelity, that would try and do all of this over again, capture all the amazing community and social and experiential elements of this, but now do it from the vantage point of, wearing one of these headsets and being able to, hold your hands up and see them in front of you and in VR. And like you said, Nicole, you got to try it, and we're in beta. We've been working for several years on this, just like we did with Second Life, and it's early, but the experience is quite something.
Yeah, it was so cool. So for everyone, just to let you know, so Philip and I hung out in Nefertiti's tomb, and the his facial expressions were mapped onto his avatar, and so it was like, and we're fairly good friends, and so it was like hearing his voice and being with him in VR. It really felt like hanging out with him. And when I think about just all of the drama on Facebook, and a great amount of it, which I think is due to people not being able to feel like they're actually talking to another person. It's very, I think, flat social media is one that really brings out the worst in us at many times, because you can yell at someone, you can like yell, and and you don't really get to see the way what you're saying to them actually is affecting them. So it takes out the feedback loop that has done a lot for human society, for people to understand, is someone hearing me, did I hurt them? And so I really believe that social VR and what you're doing can restitch the social fabric a bit. Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things about that. One was, just as you said, one of the things we saw from the beginning in Second Life was that we had a forum, that was like Facebook. We had forums that you could go into and post on, and people were sometimes mean to each other, really mean in those forums. And one of the things from the very beginning that I realized about it was, if you went and found that person in the world and confronted them face to face and said, "What's going on? What are you upset about?" It would immediately resolve it. It would immediately diffuse them, and they would act human, just like you said. They'd act human, like we all do. So with high fidelity, what we hope is that we'll take that even farther. And there's this one thing, which is that the connection that you feel with somebody when you're face to face, and you've heard me talk about this, Nicole, but is highly sensitive to the delay in the communication. Obviously, like forums are the worst because the delay is like minutes or hours. And so we're not human anymore in that context. But even when you have a second of delay, which we all know from like a bad phone call, it actually also causes you to behave badly, which is really odd. And so one of the things we're trying to do is get the delay in VR down to a point where it feels like normal face-to-face interaction. And of course, that's one of the things you've gotten to see when you've tried this. But there's a bit of engineering in that, and that's my background and what I do well. And we're doing it. But the trick is to get that delay down to about 1/10 of a second. If there's 1/10 of a second from when my voice gets to your ears, it turns out that it just feels normal to you. You actually can't tell the difference if there's around 1/10 of a second. But if there's a lot more than that, yeah, you start to kind of lose the emotional connection with the person, and that matters a lot. And so, yeah, I do hope that social VR can be something that brings us together in a way that other technologies as yet have not.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I also loved about that conversation is that, we talked about how many people still sort of perceive VR as a gaming, male platform, and they're not necessarily really thinking about this use case of it. And a lot of, for example, a lot of the things that were shown at Oculus Connect, Oculus this last week, where they were all shooters, like so many shooters. And so I think that, I'm really inspired by your vision of making social VR something that is really just sort of the next interface and accessible for all, and not something that, is just something that, a small group of people have access to. Could you talk a little bit about sort of the universality of high fidelity and social VR?
Yeah, one of the things that was really cool about Second Life that I think did help it become so famous was that it was a PC phenomena. All you had to have was a pretty new PC. Not that new. You had to have a PC or a laptop, and you had to have broadband, and you were in. And so what happened with Second Life was we had a really diverse crowd from the start. We had just a really substantial different languages, balanced gender, about the same number of men as women, just all sorts of good stuff that happened. And yeah, I think one of the things that's kind of a bummer about VR right now is that its first launch pad has been into gaming. And as you know well from your own experience, unfortunately, that's kind of a rarefied group. So you have, if you're selling shooter games, or for that matter, most any game, you tend to end up with a whiter, and a more demographically narrow group than you want. And so it's been one of the stumbling blocks of these early days of VR. One of my hopes is that the educational opportunities and the new hardware that's coming out for VR, one of the big pushes right now are these standalone headsets. And as you know, standalone headsets are cool because it is gamers who have the PCs to a large extent. The rest of us, so to speak, the more diverse rest of world tends to just have mobile devices right now, as the world has changed in this last decade, really. So we need to get VR users onto these new devices that, of course, Oculus was talking about at OC5, which are going to be these inexpensive devices that are called all-in-one devices that are basically a cell phone that fits on your face, and everything fits into that device. It's got it, and so it can present a VR environment to you, but it has the same form factor of a smartphone. It fits purse, and you can bust it out anywhere. It connects to the network, and you suddenly are immersed in a world. And I think that, combined with some of the things we're trying to do with high fidelity, like going through Nefertari's tomb, teaching, having a distance learning experience, that I think will start to get the real potential of VR as a social changer out in the open.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're going to come to the conference and talk more in depth about what you guys have learned, what you've seen, and then, other ways that we can use social VR to restitch the social fabric because, goodness knows we all really need it right now.
We should do.
So everybody, thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to get your tickets for the Transformative Technology Conference. It's on November 9th and 10th. And if you are interested in the future of human possibility, the future of mental health, emotional well-being, human thriving, this is the place to be. So thank you, Philip. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
I
very
really
much.
appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.